You mentioned you've experienced depression, which does sometimes include feeling sad, but how did depression manifest in your life? What made you feel like this is the word I'm going to use to describe how I'm feeling to other people? For somebody listening to this conversation, that might be feeling depressed themselves, but they don't have the words to articulate that yet. What would you clue them
100%.
into? How do you know that you're depressed?
For me, I was very, very angry. The moment I woke up, I just filled with so much rage. And it'd be to the point where I just want to cry. That's how angry I was. And obviously, you're being suicidal. I don't want to live. That's not normal. I just want to end my life. And you're sitting there, have a pros and cons list, trying to think out okay, why should I not do it? That's not normal. And just constantly feeling worthless, not feeling like you deserve to live. These I knew were not normal. And I felt that way as a young child. It started with the anger. That's why I can tell you it started with anger.
And that's insight, because if you ask a therapist, how does depression manifest in youth, in small children? And anger is actually something that someone needs to assess for. Temper tantrums, this really dysregulated way of being. If you're waking up really pissed off every day, that's not normal.
Yeah, and I definitely encourage parents, because I see it a lot. If a child does act out, all children act out, but if it's a constant pattern and you're punishing them, I think that's the worst. I'm no, take a moment, listen to your child, try to have a conversation and understand why are they feeling this way. And you'd probably learn a lot about your child and realize punishing them, sending them to the room, making it worse essentially is not the way to go, but getting help. And it's probably the parent needs help too. It's a partnership between the child and the parent.
Yeah. Some education around just emotions, how they creep up, what they look like in kids. Small kids especially, their primary language is not English or whatever language it is where they're growing up. It's play. They understand the world through how they play, how they engage in a very active way outside of just verbal communication. So yes, paying attention to kids' mood. So you paying attention to your own mood and recognizing something's not normal.
Yeah. And if my mom was more aware and more educated about something like that, I probably wouldn't have grew up the way I did in certain ways.
Yeah, and plenty of parents, they mean well. They really tried their best. It speaks to the importance of education around emotional intelligence and maybe incorporating a little bit more into standard curriculums at school, how to just tune into your feelings, how your feelings affect your everyday life. I imagine many of us could have benefited if our moms were a little bit more aware about all this stuff.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I don't mean to laugh, but some people are really clueless, I should say. And I really think it's very helpful to start with children or even teenagers. I think that's really where it begins, because that's where you start to become programmed to be a certain way. And you're going to move out of your parents' house and you're going to live your life, but yet you're still acting a certain way. And you don't even realize it's coming from your childhood. You just think you're some adult with an anger problem, or you're just super depressed and you don't even know why. And that will carry on with you if you don't recognize that you have a mental health problem.
And therapy helped you in those ways of recognition and, connecting the dots between what happens in childhood and how you're relating to other people now.